Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Sacred Knowledge Living podcast. You'll notice that my wife Ria has transformed into the calmest person I know.
Hi there.
It's Tom.
Hi.
How you doing today, Tom?
I'm good. How are you?
I got you up a little early so that we could do this podcast, and you seem pretty ready for it, so I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here.
Awesome. Well, we started Sacred Knowledge Living all together as a family, and you've might be familiar with Kotomi and her candles, and Tom is our newest addition to the family team, and he has jumped into producing media with both feet. So we're going to get into all that. We're going to get into the story of Tom and Kotomi. We're going to get into the spiritual practices that Tom engages in, and how all of these things led to the Calm with Tom series on Sacred Knowledge Living.
I'm super excited.
Right on.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, well, the first thing I wanted to ask you about, and this is a question I try to ask all the guests, is what does spirituality mean to you?
Spirituality. That's a so I think what it means to me is just always growing, always searching, discipline, where I'm headed, and the unknown. You know, all these things combined into one kind of big source of energy that we're just striving to get back home to, I guess.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. I think it's subjective to everyone. Like,
Yeah.
it serves a purpose to everyone, and that purpose is different. And so, to me, the most interesting thing is to hear everyone's definition or what it means to them, because that's how you get all these different perspectives and learn and grow as a person, right?
I totally agree.
So, yeah, it's a practice, I think, that evolves for a lot of people, and it can start in one place and evolve into another. But I'm glad it serves some useful purpose for you. The other thing I wanted to ask you, so we're brothers, obviously, but we have one brother between us who may show up in a future podcast.
Let's hope so.
But I'm, chronologically speaking, the oldest, and chronologically you're the
youngest.
Yeah.
I know I look the oldest right now, but I'll take whatever I can get.
So I was gonna say, what's it like growing up as the youngest of three brothers, but also the most handsome?
Well, that's subjective, but growing up as the youngest, I mean, we're really fortunate. Me, you, and Rob were really close, and I mean, we're in our 40s and we're still super close.
Yeah,
and a lot of people can't. A lot of siblings can't say that. And I mean, I see you every single day, and I talk to Rob every single day. So yeah, I mean, growing up with the youngest, I was super close to Rob, and the older we got really close together. I mean, we're still close, but it was an interesting dynamic. I don't know. Some people,
I kind of went off and did my own thing, and then I'd say in our 20s, we kind of
reconnected. We formed the band back together. If that makes sense. Yeah,
because we've lived together on and off through our 20s, through our 30s.
Yeah, it made sense, right, at the time, and
pooling our resources.
Pooling the resources. And the youngest, it's an interesting dynamic for sure. But I mean, as family goes, I think we had a pretty healthy relationship.
Do you feel like you ever had to fight for attention?
Oh yeah, all the time. I think I'm still fighting for attention.
It's hard because a lot of times you're like I see this dynamic where like the oldest gets showered with attention, but also like expectation.
Yeah, it's a lot higher for you, definitely.
And then the middle child is kind of just like happy to be there, and the first child either goes, "Why does he get all the attention?" or doesn't care. And then the youngest shows up, and the parents are almost on autopilot at that point. And then the youngest is like, "What about me? Like, you got these other two guys here. Like, hey, I exist too. Like, don't forget about me.
Don't forget about me." Yeah. No, it's an interesting dynamic. Like, definitely being the youngest, you get more hand-me-downs. You get a little less attention, but sometimes, you cause some trouble to get more attention. So,
I hear that.
There's definitely a dynamic there.
And so, tell me about the evolution. Not the evolution. Tell me about the journey of like being a self-proclaimed troublemaker to being this like respectable, amazing person that you are today?
Well,
You don't have to get into the
that's subjective.
details.
But yeah, I mean, being the youngest, just maybe not being the happiest person at times, but you grow up feeling a certain way and acting out, and then the older you get, you start to kind of reflect on your life and see that you've making some poor choices, and so that you can make better choices in other areas of your life. And a lot of it's just trial and error and making mistakes and growing from it. But the main thing is doing a lot of self-reflection so you can grow as a person and, be able to grow this very nice beard at the end of the day. So
no, everyone I know is jealous of your beard, and myself and Rob, we just can't grow epic beards like that.
I'll let you borrow it for the weekend.
Really?
Just for the weekend, though.
The detachable version?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
That makes me so happy for some reason.
Good. I know you'll just take the beard. You won't take the mustache.
No, I don't
think you can
I
handle
don't do
stash,
mustaches. But a nice Amish style.
I think one day we'll get you a mustache.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't
one
know
day.
I don't know if it fits my face.
I think you would look good, and I think your viewers would agree that Paul with just a mustache. Just picture him right now. Just look at that face. No. I'll Photoshop a mustache in on you.
Okay, that'll be the thumbnail for the videos. Me with a mustache, and I'll be like, "How did this get here?"
And I think your viewers will all give thumbs up on that one. Paul with a mustache. Well, you get enough likes, he'll grow one.
Do it. I feel conflicted now.
I'm gonna start a movement. Mustaches for Paul.
Maybe in November.
All right. Hey, there you go.
Right.
I'll take it.
We'll see.
I'll take it.
Yeah, it doesn't sit well.
I'll take it
on the real estate.
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate. So you I think we have had a healthy relationship. Obviously, everything's had its ups and downs.
Of course.
But one of the big ups was in 2015 when you met Kotomi.
Yes.
And that was a life-changing moment for you.
Very life-changing. I met my wife in 2015, and within a year, I was all like, that's the woman I'm going to marry. And we've been married for about 10 years. We got married within a year, so about 9 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's completely changed my life. When you find the right person, whether, you legitimately find the right person, it completely changes the whole dynamic of your life. Completely took me in a different trajectory towards a lot more positivity. And every day I wake up, I'm super grateful. And I think that's the main thing, is just being grateful for what you have, and just constantly reminding yourself and grounding yourself with that. So super grateful, man.
Yeah, it's once you settle into something, it's easy to take for granted.
100%.
And that taking for granted means just paying less conscientious attention. And the only problem with that is then you might not notice, problems arising or all these things. So practicing gratitude, reinforcing what it is that you actually have and expressing thankfulness for it, and then expressing the actions that show that thankfulness go so far in a relationship.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words.
And especially if it's a two-way street
Yeah.
of mutual consideration, then people are like, you get a lot of fulfillment out of the relationship. You're like, I can count on this person. We have each other's back.
Communication is probably the biggest thing.
So Kotomi speaks she speaks a wide array of English just with a Japanese accent, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's from Japan.
Yeah. So do you guys ever have problems communicating, or do you kind of try and hear each other out in terms of
No, it's a
mutual
constant. Any relationship's going to be a lot of communication, because unfortunately, at this time, I can't read people's minds, but I am working on that.
Yeah.
And I will keep you posted.
Can you read and write Japanese?
Not yet. I mean, I can do a little bit, but communication. Me and her, it's constant communicating, and I am learning to speak and write a little Japanese.
Yeah, that's just what I'm doing with Punjabi with my wife as well.
It takes time, and again,
you had to immerse yourself.
I got to immerse in it, so maybe.
So speaking of immersion, you've been to Japan a couple of times now.
I have.
So, okay, before we get into Japan, actually, let's start with Japan.
Let's start with it,
because you had several weddings with Kotomi, which I thought was awesome.
Like a prince. I've had a few weddings.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the weddings in BC, but tell me about your wedding ceremony in Japan.
So when we were in Japan, we had the original wedding back here, back home, and then when we went to Japan, my wife's mother said, "Hey, I won this photo shoot through this contest," and we're like, "Oh, cool," because we didn't really get any like super professional photos back home.
Because I took them.
Yeah, well, no, they were professional, just not professional at the time.
I understand what you mean.
And so I'm like, "Oh, we'll just get dressed up and we'll head to this place and go get our photos taken." So we get up, get dressed, whatever, and then we get to this. It's like a chapel. I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." And we get there, and
what an interesting location.
There's like 150 people, and my wife's like, "Oh yeah, we're having another wedding." I was like, "What? Another wedding?" And I'm not clearly. I don't enjoy being the center of attention by any means, but yeah, we had the other wedding and all these photos, and it was a lot of people, a lot more than our first wedding. So it was very interesting, very uncomfortable too, but I got over it.
That's good. I think you've had to face a lot of discomfort, especially when you get like attention put on you.
Yeah,
it's like you're like, no, I'm good actually.
Yeah, I prefer to be behind the scenes, but sometimes you just got to do stuff and put yourself out there.
I'm gonna do a technical thing and slightly lower your mic, and yeah, this far distance is pretty good.
My apologies.
No, you don't even have to lean in. These mics are so great. You can kind of just be like, "Hey, how's it going?" I mean, I might have to do some post work, but yeah, if we're like this far away, it's a beautiful thing.
My apologies.
Thank you for understanding. So on the subject of Japan, so you had a version of a surprise wedding there, essentially.
Yeah,
and then you've also visited there. You went there with our mom and our stepdad.
We did a family vacation. It was great. It was a lot of fun. We went to a bunch of amusement parks, which I highly recommend. You can't go wrong with going to.
Tell me about what kind of amusement
Disneyland
parks?
In Japan. It's exactly like Disneyland in the U.S., except everything's in Japanese.
Nice.
Very friendly people. Yeah, I mean, it's great. We went to a monkey theme park. A little different, but it was fun. It was a good time.
Were there live monkeys at the theme park?
There were live monkeys.
Did you get to touch them?
Well, yeah. I mean, I played like shuffleboard with a baby monkey.
No way.
I got a video to prove it. Maybe we'll throw it in the link there.
That's actually kind of adorable.
It was adorable. It was fun.
Did you? I heard that you went to a ninja theme park as well.
Lots of theme parks. They allow you to dress up as ninjas, and then you run around unfortunately, the park was on its last legs. You could tell it was
dilapidated.
It was dilapidated just because I guess there was a new ownership and they just neglected it. But we got the tail end of it, so it was exciting. I got some throwing stars.
That sounds fascinating. And how were you received in Japan from Kotomi's parents and then people in general?
So when you go to the bigger cities, I mean, I'm a fairly tall dude, so
6'4".
Not 6'4", like 6'3". And in the bigger cities, nobody cares because there's just a mix of everybody. But where my wife's from, it's like rural Japan where there's no Caucasian people. It's just Japanese. And so her dad, who doesn't speak any English, would just take me out for like 8 hours a day. And we would just kind of communicate just the way you would think. He'd be like, ice cream? And I'd be like, yeah, let's do some ice cream. So it'd just be a couple like dudes sitting in an ice cream shop. And eventually we got these little translator things, but we just wind up never using them.
Yeah.
So it was good, but he would show me off. He'd take me to Starbucks, and then like we would walk in, and they'd line me up, and these people would come out and shake my hand. It was wild, but super friendly people, and I would 100% recommend going there.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
And did you enjoy traveling the other time you went with mom and
yeah, it was fun
experiencing things
good.
Through the eyes of someone else?
Yeah, they stayed in the bigger city because that's what they like to do. I prefer rural Japan. It's a lot better. If you ever get the opportunity, I would highly recommend it.
Cool. Well, Japan, it's a beautiful country, and it must have been an eye-opening experience because that's one of the furthest places you've traveled in your life, right?
At the moment, yes.
Cool. Okay, so traveling, that's a skill, right? Having the patience to meet new people in a foreign land with a language you don't understand, that's a skill. Throughout your life, what other kinds of skills have you built up? I would volunteer one which would be drawing. Tom is a
Yes.
very talented artist, both digitally and analog, and you are famous at your workplace for your artistic endeavors, and you're also very handyman.
I am
Some
a
would say a
handyman,
jack of all trades.
but a master of none.
And so yeah, I wanted to ask, like, what skills? How do you quantify your own skills? What would you say, like, you've built up that you enjoy and that you find useful?
So earlier on in my life, I didn't really have too many skills, and so it was a lot of just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And one of them, I knew I wanted to work with my hands because I enjoy it. So I was fortunate enough to get employment at a company that allowed me to really kind of dive deeper into learning a bunch of different things. And so for the past like 12 to 15 years, I've just been working with my hands and, really just kind of enjoying that. And just
What
learning
about
different skills.
Do you remember working the farmers markets in North Vancouver, selling Life Bites, the delicious dehydrated banana dipped in dark chocolate and rolled in coconut or hemp seed snack?
So for one thing, you always got to have a side hustle.
Yes.
That's one of my passions is, growing up with not the most money in the world, you definitely get crafty and you start to figure out, hey, how can I make more money?
Yeah.
And you're always going to have a full-time job, but then you're like, well, I need a little bit more money because,
You want to get ahead, not just make
well, you want to
ends
get
meet.
ahead and you want to be able to actually eat food. So you got to get a side hustle. So I've had many side hustles.
Yep.
I've worked 7 days a week, as you have as well,
Yep.
for a very, very, very long time. And Life Bites was one of them where, again, don't like to be the center of attention, but when you can make potential money, you put yourself out there. And I don't want to brag or anything.
Yeah,
but,
you still hold the record for
I hold the record for selling the most Life Bites
in one day.
in one day. But that was without the beard. If I
Yeah,
take
you-
this beard
yeah.
off, it's go time.
Yeah, you got like just even more charm, right? Your
Yeah.
face goes from being for radio, definitely for video.
Definitely have a face for radio. Definitely have a face for radio. But yeah, I can I can unhinge this beard and I throw it on the wall and then I
Throw
go,
it like a boomerang and it
and then I
comes
go,
right
it's
back.
go time, and then I go into sell mode. So
Cool. So yeah, I remember that hustle, back in 2010, 2011. And then from there you started your own painting company.
yes,
So you've been an entrepreneur as well as basically a contractor.
yes,
And I've painted many houses with you.
you became my painting partner.
And because you taught me the skills of cutting in and fine detail painting and even doing the whole spray thing, and
Yeah.
we did a lot of that work, and it's been a pleasure. I think that's where we learned how to work together
Better communication for sure.
in a really efficient way because we learned how to improve our communication, and it was a lot of I don't want to say a battle, but it was like, yeah, there's a challenge to learn the intricacies of the best way to communicate, to just get things done in an orderly way without injecting emotion.
More efficiently, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And we learned to be like good professional business people. And, he would keep me in check to be more professional with our clients. And I would be extra meticulous beyond what needed to be done.
But that's a good thing. It's
a
like
good balance,
It's a
right?
balance, yin and yang. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I'll tell the audience, if you want to make a decent amount of money, get into painting, because you get any good at that, you can do quite well for yourself.
Yep. I see that for a fact. And that's what my son is doing now.
He became
He's
a
actually-
painter, not a Picasso,
No, he is a commercial painter.
commercial painter.
Yeah, so that's its
We're
own skill set.
we're very proud of him.
Yeah, actually, I'm really proud of him because,
Me too.
it's better than just staying around at home. So the other kind of skills I wanted to ask you about is what kind of spiritual practices, because I know what kind of spiritual practices have you built up and learned about. I remember you in your early 20s
Yep.
being like talking to me about something called astral projection,
Little
which I was
little out of body experience action there. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
which I found super fascinating.
Me
'Cause
too.
I've never had that experience. So maybe you can talk about what led you to that, what kind of stuff you've done around that, and how that's evolved in your life.
So I'll give a very short version of the story.
Sure.
I was in my early 20s. I was working at a nightclub, and about 4 or 5 stores down, there was a holistic bookstore. And I've always been into spirituality, always enjoyed it, always thought it was cool. I read a lot of these books. Unfortunately, a lot of them didn't really, like all the stuff I would learn from it didn't really produce anything. No fruit kind of bloomed from it. And so I'd keep going to this holistic bookstore because the job allowed me to read a lot. So I would read a lot of books because I was a doorman there. And then one day I found this one particular book, and it was on out-of-body experience. And I was really interested in it because I felt like out-of-body stuff would prove, to me at least, that there's life after death. So there's something. And to me, if that was the case, then it would alleviate tons of stress, fear, anxiety. And I'd be like, listen, if there's life after death, none of whatever happens, I'm going to be good because I got somewhere to go after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I bought this book. I tried all these things, and it legitimately worked. It took some time and practice, but it built up a lot of discipline in me, and I started to gain these experiences. And so I got really big into out-of-body experiences, astral projection, and was able to meditate better, raise energy better, all these things from a few of these really key books that were just, kind of came into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started doing a lot of that, but then there was other things like gazing and a lot of energy work and clairvoyancy and all these other really strange phenomena that came with the energy work. A lot of stuff that was really hard at the time to understand. It was quite scary, but it got to a point where I got really, really just like, ooh. So I took a step back for a few years. I'm coming back into it. The last probably 10 years, got right back into it. And we've just been going ever since.
Did you also take Reiki classes with
Mom? We did Reiki when we were, I forgot. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing a lot of energy healing just in general. And I've done stuff, and for me at least, it's evolved way further than Reiki. Mm-hmm. But I remember that with Mom. It was interesting. I actually remember that quite vividly. But again, I found stuff for myself that's way, 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 way better than Reiki for myself.
More effective.
Yeah. So hopefully one day I'll be able to teach the listeners, the viewers, if they're ever interested, because I have a lot to teach.
Cool. Maybe a astral projection or out of body course.
Yeah, at the very least, energy work, because the energy work, the way that I'm doing it now is 100% change people's lives.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, speaking of changing people's lives and spiritual work, you launched this new series, Calm with Tom.
Hi there. Welcome to Calm with Tom.
Yeah. And I thought that was so cool because...
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Well, we had been doing Sacred Knowledge Tarot, and you've been watching us as we've been growing the channel, and we talk all the time.
All the time.
And we decided to start doing some different YouTube videos together.
Yep.
Comedy sketches and some gaming videos and stuff. Yeah. And it sort of, I feel like it awoke something in you. And so before 2023, 2024, had you ever edited a video together before, other than like on your phone?
No, not even on my phone, I don't think.
Okay.
I think you gave me the tools. You definitely gave me the tools, and you're very patient, and I greatly appreciate it. You gave me the tools to just try something different. And, the great thing is I just edited the stuff that I liked. I'm a very creative person, and if it's making me laugh, then I know I'm doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And, that progresses into doing stuff that's, branching out, doing things a little bit different. And yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for what, about 2 years, a year and a half?
Yeah, almost 2 years. Been dabbling in editing. In the last 6 months, you've gotten really good.
Yeah.
Like some of the stuff you've been editing lately, yeah, has blown me away. You edited our father's memorial video.
Yeah.
You have edited. You started editing those Street Fighter videos, and yeah, just like learning visual effects stuff, learning how to film with green screen.
Yep.
And then in the last couple of months, you were like, I think I'm ready to start learning camera work.
Yeah, you just kind of gave me the tools, and I pick up that camera, and I'm helping my wife with all of her videos, doing the editing. I'm helping you guys with some editing here and there, and yeah, I'm really, really grateful, dude. Thank you.
No, of course. Well, it's because I see you're such a creative person, and you've been working at your job. We worked at the same place as well, so we at one point were living together with our wives and also working at the same film studio. And so you actually helped me get that job. And yeah, so it's like I've had this opportunity to leave that job now after 8 years there and work with Ria full time. And now with Sacred Knowledge Living and with all the work we're doing, we're moving towards the possibility of Tom eventually joining us full time on his schedule. And that's something I'm really excited for, because I've seen how he has been balancing working full time and doing everything with the channel and working with Kotomi and pulling it off. And so I'm really excited to see when you get to devote all your time to whatever you want to do and doing these kind of creations. And you guys have been so wild with your creativity, like the cooking video that just came out.
Yeah.
Showing Kotomi's process. With her candles, with her boxes, and I know you have I've seen your board. You have so many more.
Yeah, there's
cool ideas.
There's a lot more exciting stuff coming out. We're just jumping in, getting our legs, getting everything kind of ready, and yeah, the board's loaded up, and yeah, I'm hoping that it gets well received. And again, I'm very, very grateful for the opportunities that you, Ria, the universe has provided me. So. You just you got to be open to these things, and change is uncomfortable, but uncomfortable is a good thing, guys. Get used to it, embrace it. If you can embrace uncomfortability, you can probably do anything.
Well, because it's not permanent.
No,
right? We always adapt.
Yep. I'll give you a really quick story. So I would work weekends. So you're working 7 days a week, and then you're working usually long, like 10, 12-hour days on the weekends. Even weekdays, you typically will work like 10-hour days, because you'll work your first job, and then you'll go do your side job for like 3 or 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And you're doing a lot of driving, and you're just like, oh, man, I just want to go home, lay on the couch, hang out with my significant other. And it can get depressing. You can get burned out, but I did a really cool thing where I would just start to reframe stuff. So if I'm driving for 2 hours, I could put a podcast on, learn stuff. And so none of this time feels wasted. And that's the best piece of advice I can give you at the moment is, if you have some downtime or you're driving or you're doing stuff you don't particularly like, reframe it, because you will go so much farther if you don't feel like it's like a drag, where you can reframe it and be like, you know what, I can do podcasts. I can think of a script. I can think of a story I can write, or something creative. It will definitely help you in the long run.
So if you're stuck doing some menial task,
which lots of us are,
then as long as you have like one ear available, you can be listening to something that teaches you, that educates you.
Yep.
Instead of just junk food media, you can put some nutritious media in your brain, and that means all that time that feels monotonous, if your brain wasn't being nourished, is suddenly more valuable.
Yeah, or even if you don't have access to a podcast, you could go into your mind. I mean, you're doing your menial task, but you can think about, if you want to be a story writer or you want to make something creative, you can constantly be planning that, and so you're not feeling like you're wasting time.
That's cool. And then sometimes reframing into that state of mind helps things feel like less of a drag or like less effort. And before you know it, you're in that flow state. You get the thing done, but you have a happy memory of it, because you're like, oh, that's when I listened to this podcast or heard this story or learned about this thing, and less about like, oh, that's when I hurt my back and hurt my, my
yeah,
wrist.
Keep those negative thoughts at bay. I think that's another good piece of advice.
And I like that advice when they say negative thoughts. It's really the negative self-talk.
Yes.
Right? We're all going to have critical thoughts. We're all trying to discern what's going on, and criticisms are going to come up, warnings are going to come up. You should definitely listen to them, but don't dwell on the things where you're cutting yourself down, right? If you experience something that's adverse or a challenge, or you make a mistake, and you can be like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, and then like figure out how not to do it in the future, instead of being like, man, I'm such an idiot, oh I never do anything right, and like reinforcing these messages that actually, if you want to be correct, you're gonna become those negative things that you call yourself, right? So yeah, I think it's been amazing watching your journey and evolution as my little bro, who's larger than me, become like, I've seen your creativity since we were little children.
Thanks, man.
Right? We used to, when I was like 13, 14, and we got a little VHS camera. We used to film
the big shoulder-mounted one.
Yeah,
remember that?
The huge one. And we used to film little sketches and little movies and wrestling films and all this very embarrassing stuff.
Very embarrassing stuff.
And then in our 20s, I remember when we found that clip of you and Rob.
We should reshoot that shot for shot.
Yeah,
we will.
The mashed potato battle.
Yeah.
Which was super cute. We're all in our 20s and so fresh faced. And then, even now we still get together occasionally and shoot like little funny videos and present them to our mom and our family and like, hey, check out what we made. So like the more things change, the more they stay the same.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah.
Like there's that familiarity, but the creativity's never died with us. And if anything, we've learned how to concentrate it and conglomerate it.
Just do it better in our 40s, man.
Well, if you told my 14-year-old self that we would be earning money making videos or earning a living even.
Would he be like, no way?
I'd be like, how do I get there faster?
Yeah. It's like you don't get there faster.
But you can't.
It's all about the journey.
And that's exactly it. So if you're on a journey but you're not where you want to be, don't worry. You're on your way. And once you get to that destination, you might find a new destination that you want to get to. So Tom,
Paul,
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you
for not only showing up this morning to be here for this podcast, but for all your efforts that you've been making.
Thanks, Ben.
All the growth that I've seen in the last several years, but especially in the last 6 months. And yeah, you're just knocking it out of the park, and I can't wait to see how things continue to grow. And let people know what kind of you've got Calm with Tom episodes coming up. What else you got coming up?
I have a few things coming up, but I prefer to keep them a little secret for the audience. And a lot of smaller 5 to 10 minute videos, a lot of hypnosis stuff that's super, super beneficial. A lot of binaural beats. All these things are combined to give you the kind of the goals that you want. These tools will 100% help you.
Yeah. Before we go, just give me the lowdown on binaural beats. What is this? Different frequencies?
Yeah. So the science behind it is different frequencies help with certain things, right? You got alpha, beta, delta, theta, and some people say there's a few other ones, but those 4 ones is kind of what I'm kind of keeping key at. And
are they like brain states? Like
states
of brainwaves?
So I think they were developed in the 70s, 60s. A lot of like newer age kind of guys are using them on audio CDs in the 90s and early 2000s to help with like out of body experience stuff or getting into flow states a lot quicker, a lot easier.
What about sleeping?
Sleeping's a great one. Yeah. So, all of these things I use. I encourage everyone to definitely do the research, but videos to come, we'll be diving a little bit deeper into there, explaining a few more things, doing some more meditation stuff, showing how to do more energy body stuff like manipulation, raising energy. There's some techniques that I'm going to bring out, some videos coming up that are going to change your life, in my opinion, and be some game changers.
That sounds amazing. I'm really excited for that, and yeah, I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Me too.
And what you and Kotomi come up with next. You guys are just being amazingly creative, and yeah, it's very exciting. It's exciting to be able to work with your family.
Yes, it is.
So thank you again.
I love you, man.
I love you too. You have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next Sacred Knowledge Living podcast. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Have fun.